Welcome to Evolve with the Modern Caveman. Ooh,
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Evolve with the Modern Caveman. If you're joining us for the first time, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Gilbert Diaz, aka the Modern Caveman. I am a self-development and mindset coach, and it is my goal and my intention here on this podcast to pour as much value as I possibly can into your life to help you evolve into the next best version of yourselves. And I do that by sharing some of the lessons and the things that I have learned on my own personal development journey, and it hopes that it can motivate you, inspire you, and and change your life for the better. That being said, let's get into today's episode. Today's episode is one I'm definitely looking forward to. I have tons. I don't know if you can see it on here on the camera, but tons and tons of notes that I've been preparing for this one episode. Is one that I think is extremely important. But before I get into that, I want to just quickly apologize. I know that this last week's episode was delayed. If you follow me on Instagram, you would know that I did put it on out on my story. But if you're catching this for the first time, I was feeling a little under the weather. I was just completely out of it, and every part of my being was ready to record, and it just never came to fruition. Um and at some point I just had to kind of just listen to my body and just say take a break and just take the week. So that's what I did. Just It's something that I tend to preach to others a lot, and I don't really apply a lot in my life. Is kind of just listen to your body, and sometimes your body's telling you to rest, and that's basically what my body was telling me last week. And I'm glad I did it, because it actually gave me an extra week to prepare for this episode. And I like I said, I'm extremely excited. But that being said, um be prepared, because in a future installment, in the future week, you will see a double episode. And now that I'm kind of talking about it, um, and thinking about it, is actually an episode that that I've been preparing for a long time, and I think it's actually appropriate the way the way I could deliver it in a double episode. So just definitely look forward to that. I definitely look forward to producing that episode, and you'll hear about it soon, okay? Uh Today I want to talk to you about something extremely important. I think perhaps the most important thing that we in life will ever do, and that is decision making. I want to talk to you today about decision making. Decision making is such a vital and important part of our lives, because it shapes every aspect of our lives. And it does it by shaping our perspectives and our beliefs, the way we see the world around us. Um, it does it by shaping our values and our morals. Our decisions shape our creativity and our imagination, which, in my opinion, is the closest thing that makes us uh, relatable to God. Um, our decisions shape our spiritual life and our spiritual walk with God. If you are a believer like I am, you will know how important and how true this is. to make that choice to follow after Christ, right? To do the good work, to do to live this life that he kind of just put out in his word for us. Our decision making also shapes what we choose to allow, or choose or don't choose to allow to have access to our lives. This includes the things we allow to have access into our lives, the people we allow to have access to our lives, the places we choose to access and allow to influence our lives, the things that we choose to hear, the things that we choose to see, the things that we choose to say, and how we behave in the world, in the throughout the world around us. Our decision making greatly shapes and affects the relationships that we form, whether it's professionally, whether it's personally, spiritually with our Lord and Savior, or spiritually with our congregants, or our brothers and sisters in our church. It shapes our relationships romantically with our spouses and significant others. And I think perhaps perhaps the most important, in some respect, it shapes the amount of potential we have access to. And if you've been following me for quite some time now, you know that I truly believe that we have limitless potential. I believe that we have limitless potential because I believe that we were created with greatness. Like I said before, I am a believer, and I believe that we were created in the likeness and image of God. That's why I said before, creativity and imagination is the closest thing that resembles uh what it means to be like God, right? I believe that God is great, and if He is great, and He created us in our likeness, in His likeness and in His image, then we too must be great in our own respect. We too were created with greatness living already inside us, and I think it is essential for us, and I think it is necessary for us to tap into that greatness, to tap into that potential, so that we could fully realize the fullness of why we were created, so that we can see the fullness of um of the way God looks at us. I truly, truly believe that. I believe we were created with greatness. I believe that there's greatness living within us, limitless potential. And I think this is what this whole podcast is about, is to kind of just get to that point. But if your decision making is not in the best, if you're not making good decisions, it will affect the amount of potential, the amount of greatness you're able to tap into, thus affecting the outcome of what you're trying to achieve in anything you do in life, whether it's in self development, right? Becoming that person that you were always meant to be, or maybe it is the pursuit of a dream, goal, aspiration, whatever whatever it is that you're trying to achieve in your life, whether it's in your personal life, your relationships with your kids, your family, maybe it's your professional life. I believe that if we can't tap into into that greatness, if we can't tap into that access, it will greatly affect how we achieve any of those things. So today I want to talk to you about decision making. Today I want to talk to you about uh the the effect that it has on our lives, and how we can make decisions that are more in line with our purpose, that are more in line with the with the getting us to the very place in which we can look back on with minimal regrets, and we can say we've achieved uh, the fullness of our potential. We've achieved the fullness of our greatness, and we are living the life that we were always meant to live. Um, that being said, let's talk a little bit about decisions and decision makings. I think we often believe ourselves to be greater than all the rest of God's creation. And I think there is an exceptionalism to it. But I think we often view ourselves, perhaps because of our intelligence, to be greater than all the rest of God's creatures. And we believe that there is a separator between us. But when we kind of just boil it down, and when push comes to shove, and you really realize it, we are more alike than we are different, and especially when it comes to decision making. Um, especially when it comes down to decision making. See, much like animals, we assign everything that we see, smell, hear, touch, taste, even non-tangible things, we assign it all a value. And the value that we assign it will determine how important those things are to us or to our overall emotional well-being. Um, Our value, our values, however, are subconsciously assigned. So very often these are things that we don't actually think about, right? We don't actually think about, oh, well, I'm gonna hold this thing higher in my value, in my scales, than the other thing. It's subconsciously done. Let me give you an example, okay? And this might be a little bit of a morbid example, but I think it's an example that could kind of just get the point across. I want you to imagine, especially those who have pets, okay? And those who love their pets and those who have children. I want you to imagine, and like I said, this is a very morbid example, but I want you to imagine that you are you are standing outside of a building that's on fire. And on one window to your right is your child screaming for help. On the other hand is your favorite pet barking or whatever at the window. Now, the firefighter tells you we can only save one. You have to choose. Now, in a real world scenario, we obviously know what the firefighter would choose, but imagine that was a choice that was presented to you. Will you choose the dog or will you choose the child? Only one can survive. Now, I would think and I will hope that most people listening to this love their children and they want to save their children over their dog. Um, and I think that's what most people often will do. It's the most common answer. I will save the child over the dog. See, the value that we assign isn't based on conditions or the emotional attachment like love, right? The truth is it's so let me backtrack a little bit. Like I said, the value we assign is not based on conditions or emotional attachments like love, but the emotional benefit it carries on our emotional well-being and in our life. I'm sure if you know you're presented with that scenario, I hope you never are, but I'm sure if you were presented with that scenario, there is no you do not love the dog any less than your child, right? We don't love the dog any less than the child, but yet our mind subconsciously assign the child to be more important and have greater value than the dog. It's not about the amount of love we have for the dog, but it's about the emotional benefit that the child, at the emotional weight that the child holds on our life over that, over the emotional weight the dog has over our life. I think in our heads we already assume that the dog, we're gonna outlive our dogs. So the emotional weight that we carry will determine the value in which we assign on on in that scenario, right? We see something similar when someone is choosing a spouse over the approval of their parents, right? It's not that it's not that that the person um loves their parents any less, right? Just imagine that you bring home somebody you truly love with all your heart and your parents disapproves of them, and this is the person you wanna leave your parents home for sorry, you want to leave your parents home from and make a life of your own with, and your parents disapprove of it. Now, it's if you choose your spouse over your parents approval, it's not that you love your parents any less, or that you love your spouse or significant other anymore. The truth is that the spouse or the significant other holds a greater emotional value than that of your parents at that moment. And so you choose your spouse or your emotional or your significant other because you see a greater emotional value in the future. Much like everything else in our life, our dreams, goals, aspirations, and pursuits are determined and achieved based on the value that we assigned. I want you to think about that. Much like everything else in our lives, our dreams, goals, aspirations, and pursuits are determined and achieved based on the values that we assign. Meaning, right, that even before we we decide to pursue these dreams, goals, or aspirations, we've already determined in our minds subconsciously, because we've assigned it a value, whether it will be worth pursuing or the amount of effort we choose to give it. And much like tangible objects, right, in life that holds tangible value, we we must use a currency in order to exchange it, in order to obtain it, right? We must use a form of currency in order to exchange, so that we can obtain that dream, goal, or aspiration. But the question is, what is that currency? You see, in the everyday world, that currency is money, and we exchange money for goods and services. But the method but when it comes to self-development and pursuing the fullness of your potential, that currency is a bit deeper. Actually, no, it's a lot deeper. And it's something I talk about constantly here on this podcast. That currency is your time. And the method in which we exchange that time for the dream or the aspiration or the goal that we're trying to achieve is the focus that we give. Now, if you've been following this podcast for some time, you will know that I've done an episode on about time, the quality of time. I've also done an episode on focusing and how on the things that we focus on, we will magnify in our life. I strongly suggest, if this is the first time you're hearing me, definitely go back to any one of those episodes, because you're definitely going to get a lot of value there, and you'll learn a little bit about exactly what I mean when I talk about the method of exchange, and how on the things that we focus on will ultimately magnify our life, and will challenge the way we operate in our life. But we use focus as a method of exchange here, right? We use focus as a method of exchange, because the time that we choose to focus will determine the investment that we make in, whether on your dream goal or aspiration, or anything for that matter in your life. Your What we focus on determines how much currency, how much time we are willing to spend, and how large or important that pursuit is. It will determine how large or important that pursuit is. I want you to think about that, because um we often have these grand dreams in our minds, um but until we begin to truly focus on it and make it bigger, magnify it in our mind, we can easily be distracted by everything else. And we see this constantly, especially in the beginning of the new year, right? We see so many people, they write out their New Year's resolutions of all the things that they want to achieve in the year, and they, you know, they focus on it for just a little bit amount of time. And if they just spend more time just keeping it at the forefront of their mind, they will probably achieve it. But what often happens is they don't spend a lot of time focusing on it, and then suddenly, and because they don't do that, it doesn't magnify in their minds, and other things that are distractions in their lives begins to grab their attention, and those are the things that end up uh becoming magnified. Those are the things that end up consuming our time. uh in the financial world, any investment is followed by a very important question. And that question is, what is my ROI? For those of you who are not familiar with this term, ROI means, what is my return on investment? What is my return on investment? I'm investing my time in the financial world. I'm investing my money. I'm investing my emotions. I'm investing my health, whatever it is. What am I getting in return for this investment? That is the single, perhaps most important question in any investment. What is my ROI? And this is no different in the investments that we make when it comes to time and focus. But it is a question that I believe that so many people often overlook, and contributes to a life that becomes mediocre, and a life that is often spiraling outside of someone's control. Does the thing that we choose to invest our time and focus on appreciate in our life, or does it depreciate? Right? In the financial world, does my money appreciate? Does it go up in value? Or does it depreciate? Am I losing money in this investment? The same could be said in the investment that we make with the currency of time and the exchange made through focus, right? Does it appreciate in value? Does it add value to my life? Or does it take away value from my life? Is that dream gonna add something? Is it gonna elevate something in my life? Or is it gonna take something from me? are the things that I hold valuable. I think so many people don't even think about this. Are the current things that I hold valuable in my life, are they appreciating in my life? Are they appreciating? Are they continuing to add value in my life? Or are they just stagnant? I think that we have we have a world of a lot of stagnant people. More or perhaps even worse, are those things taking value from my life? Are they making my life less valuable? Are they making me less happy? Are they stealing my peace? Whatever it is, what is it that that these things that I hold valuable, what's happening? They should be moving. They should either be moving up or they should be moving down. And if they're not, then that's another whole other problem. You want to have things in your life that are adding value, that are pouring value back into your life. But in order to answer the question, what is my ROI? What is my return on investments? We must understand what subconsciously determines our values. Okay. And as I've said many times on this podcast, I'm gonna I'm gonna list out five things that I believe contribute to shaping the values that we assign things subconsciously. But if at any point after I've read out all these things, um you you come up with a sixth one or a seventh one, please, please, I'm a student of life. I'm constantly willing to learn. Please do me a favor. Send me a DM. Let me know. You can follow me on Instagram at Modern Cavemen's Club. Cavemen, MEN, not caveman, MEN, Modern Cavemen's Club on Instagram. Send me a DM. Let me know how this episode affected your life. But more importantly, if you have anything to contribute, I want to learn from you. Definitely let me know. Okay. Um, so in order to answer this question, we must find out what subconsciously determines the values that we assign. But before we do that, we have to ask ourselves one question, and that has to do with the currency in which we use, which is time. How valuable is your time? It is a question I don't think we ask ourselves enough. How valuable is your time? There's a great example that I once heard. Um the example basically goes is if you were given a magic genie, and that genie were to give you one wish, and that wish was to uh to be able to give you, well, let's put it this way. I'm messing up the story. If that genie promised to give you everything that your heart desired, it could be money, monetarily, it could be tangible assets, whatever it is that your heart desired. It could be even that person you've been dreaming about. Whatever it is, the only catch is that you will die the next day, right? Most people, and so you have to choose. I'm sorry. You have to choose between whether you want to live, continue to live, or you want to get your heart's desires. And a lot of people will choose, I will say most people will choose continuing to live than to live one day with all of their heart's desires. Why? Because time is more valuable than tangible assets. Uh, time is more valuable than money. So let so I beg to ask you the question again. How important is time to you? How valuable is your time to you? Because if it is that important that you would choose to forfeit your heart's desires, all the pleasures of the world in order to live another day, then I think it's pretty damn valuable. So that being said, I'm going to break down these five things that I believe subconsciously uh, subconsciously assigns values to your life. The first thing is what is familiar. Familiarity. What is familiar holds greater value than what is unfamiliar. Let me say that one more time. What is familiar holds greater value than what is unfamiliar. Even if what's familiar is painful. We probably all know that person who moves from one toxic relationship to another. And we often probably ask them like why if you know that you're moving into another toxic relationship, why would you do it? Because a lot of times these people can even determine the outcome of the relationship before they even enter into that relationship. Why put yourself through it? And most of the time it's because they are so familiar with the toxicity that the thought of anything else is much more scarier because it's unfamiliar, it's uncomfortable. Let me be the first one to tell you, if you're listening to this for the first time, your dreams, goals, aspirations, your pursuits require uncomfortable action. They require unfamiliar, you going into some unfamiliar places. See, self development is a very uncomfortable, and in many times, because it's uncomfortable, it's a very scary and painful pursuit. But your best life exists when you begin to step into the unknown, when you begin to challenge yourself against what is familiar. What does a familiar life gives you? A familiar life will give you uh, uh an average existence filled with regret. A familiar life will give you an average existence that is filled with regret. And notice that I said existence and not life. Because I feel like so many people go through life existing and not truly living. Because I believe that the pursuit alone, whether you achieve it or not, the pursuit alone is the essence of what it means to live. To live a life just existing, to live a life just getting by, to live a life that is average will ultimately leave you with regret because you know that you were destined for more. You know that you were destined for greatness, but you played it small. You played it safe. Take the pursuit down the hard road, down the road to your destiny, down the road to the unknown. That is where your greatness resides. That's where the best version of yourself exists. The second thing that shapes the values that we assign is the emotional meaning that um we give things. The emotional meaning is the emotional weight something has on your life. More important, it is the weight or the stress that we bear when we lose it. Okay? There's a song I think is by Lucas Graham. and it escapes my mind, but basically the premise of the song is that you truly don't know love until you're afraid to lose it. You truly don't know love until you're afraid to lose it, right? The same thing applies here. It is the weight that you will bear when you it's the weight that you will bear if you were to have lost this. In order to achieve our pursuits, they must carry enough emotional meaning in our life to scare us from losing it, right? If it scares you enough from losing it, if we put that much emotional meaning on our dreams, goals, and aspirations, that anything less will will provide that emotional weight that is unbearable to us mentally, then we should achieve everything our heart desires. Number three, pleasure. Pleasure shapes the things that we the values that we assign to the things that um that we hold valuable, right? Pleasure is the euphoric feelings we achieve when we obtain something. We must mentally make our pursuits more pleasurable, so that we move towards them. We are creatures of pleasure. We are creatures of pleasures. Back to the last one, we are also emotional creatures, but we are creatures of pleasure, right? We move away from from pain, and we move towards pleasure, right? And this is the fight or flight instinct that's in almost all of God's creation. We move away from pain and we move towards pleasure. We must make the pursuit, the idea, the end of the road, the pursuit, so pleasurable in our mind that that we um we naturally gravitate to it. If you want to achieve your dreams, goals, and aspirations, begin to look at your pursuit, not just the end, excuse me, because I know I said that before, not just the end, but the pursuit as a whole, as a pleasurable experience that that inspires you to move into it. Number four, risk. Risk. Um, Risk is the comparison of what we have to what we don't have. The reward for our pursuit must be greater than the cost of our pain. Risk will shape the value of the things that we're trying to pursue, and the things that we hold valuable. Um, and if we want to achieve greatness, then the reward, whatever it is that we're trying to pursue, has to hold has to hold a greater value than than the pain that it will cost to get there, right? The emotional pain, the mental pain, the stress, anything that that any pain that it will take to get there, the reward must be greater. So we have to begin to inflate that, magnify that in our minds. And then lastly, number five, the scarcity and difficulty of of that thing that we hold valuable. The scarcity and the difficulty it is to obtain it will determine the value in which it will have. Because the scarcity and difficulty determines the results. Um, determines the results holds greater value uh because not many have achieved it. Excuse me, I'm just reading from my notes. Um, I just wanted to get it correctly. S- it determines the results holds greater value because not many have achieved it. If what makes a diamond valuable? A diamond is valuable because it's difficult to first extract the diamond is also very scarce. What makes Lamborghini a very valuable product? Lamborghini or Ferraris are very scarce and they're very difficult to manufacture. Same thing can be applied to your life, right? What makes your skill set very valuable? Because it is perhaps very scarce and very difficult to obtain. So when we begin to um to look at different aspects of our life, we look at it through the lens of whether it's scarce and difficult to obtain, or scarce or difficult to 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 let go as well. Um we must pass our decisions through these filters, these five filters. And that determines the value of the pursuits and what we have, right? That will determine the value of the pursuit, and it will also determine the values of the things that we currently hold valuable in our life. When um when we take these values in now in order for us to to get to determine uh how valuable those things are to us, we must take those values and compare them to our own personal values in order to determine our ROI, our return on investment. If we want to figure out what our return on investment is, we take the values that we have assigned through those five filters and we compare it to our own personal values, and we will determine the return that we will get on our investment, the investment that we make with our time. Do these pursuits add value to my life? Will they make me more skillful? You have to ask yourself this question. Will they make me more skillful? Will they make me more intelligent? Will they bring me more money? Will they bring me more peace? Will they bring me more love and joy and happiness? Will they create more memories? I think that's a very important one because so many times, especially when we're talking about dreams, goals, and aspirations, we often talk about the tangible stuff, and we could forget about the other things, right? We've all met that the other things that are important to us, right? We've all probably seen, that guy who's probably on vacation, sitting on a white sandy beach, typing away on his laptop, working away from home while his kids are screaming at him to help make a sandcastle, and he's just blowing them off. I spoke about this in my own personal life, how I was just blowing off my daughter because she wanted me to come down the slide. What if, you know, what if that pursuit is costing valuable memories? I want you to think about that. Whether it's the pursuit of money or the pursuit of status or the pursuit of anything in life, is it um costing you a valuable memory, a memory that will forever uh last in the minds of your children, of the people that you influence and the people that are around you. Think about it. Think about those memories that you will have at the last moments of your life, because you're not if you're if, at those last moments when you're taking your last breaths, you're not going to be thinking about, man, I wish I typed a little faster on that laptop. You're probably going to be thinking, man, I wish I made those sandcastles. I wish I would have made those sandcastles when I had the chance. So think about that. Will it bring me more memories? Will it reduce my anxieties? Will it develop better relationships, whether it's personal, professional, or romantic? Will it better my relationships? Will it minimize my regrets? Will it grow and expand my current values, the things that I currently value in my life? Will it grow and expand it? Right? Will it grow and expand my skill set? Will it grow and expand my spiritual life? Will it grow and expand my relationships with uh with my friends, family, my children? Will it grow and expand my opportunities? Right? Will it grow and expand my opportunities? Will I have more opportunities as I pursue this? Will it grow and expand my potential? Will I be able to tap into more potential by pursuing this? Will they make me a more valuable person in my community? Will it make me a more valuable person in my job? Will it make me a more valuable person in my church, in my family, and in my relationships? Get in the habit of auditing your life and constantly asking yourself, what is the return on my investment? Okay. And this is a pretty long episode, perhaps the longest episode that I've done thus far. I just want to just leave you with that thought. What is the return on your investment? Before I end this episode, I want to just make a quick announcement. Um, just referring to something that I brought up a couple of weeks ago. I mentioned that I am currently writing a book, and that originally I had my eyes set on at the end of this month, which is September, or the beginning or middle of October. It looks like as of right now, that that time may be pushed back to somewhere in November. Um an opportunity did arise in my life that I probably will talk about in some coming time, that is pushing that back, but all for good reasons. So I just wanted to give you guys an update on that. Um, the book is finished. It is in the editing process, and you guys will see an example of it very soon. And then number two, I can't believe I haven't mentioned this in any of the last previous episodes, but September is Suicide Awareness Month. If you know somebody who's going through depressing thoughts, who's having depressing thoughts, who's having suicidal idolization, I can never say that word. Um, I am somebody who have dealt with it in my life. If you haven't, definitely check out episode 2, where I kind of just talk more in depth about my own personal struggles with suicide and depression. I strongly ask that you navigate these people to get the help that that they deserve. And if you are somebody that's struggling with any of these kinds of emotions, please reach out to someone, ask for help. You are stronger than you know. And if it ever comes to it, and you're ever at that moment where you're thinking about it, please dial 988. That is the suicide prevention hotline, to help you just navigate through those emotions, so that you can come out on the other side, and and you can continue pursuing this life that you rightly deserve. And I believe that once you begin to change your outlook on it, and you begin to focus on different aspects of your life, you can truly make this a beautiful life, a life worth living. Okay. So I just wanted to bring that one out. Suicide Prevention Month, September. I know it's the last week of September when this episode drops, but I definitely want to make that known. 988 is the suicide prevention hotline. That being said, if you enjoyed any of this episode, please, I ask that you share this with a friend, a family member, or anybody that you think will find value from this episode. I am eternally grateful for you tuning in, and as always, keep evolving the modern caveman way.